I have to tell you this. Watching the NFL flap yesterday and also watching this stupid thing about not having a beauty pageant during the Miss America pageant, the left is trying to school us to hate ourselves. The left is trying to school us to hate ourselves. They're trying to tell us that our natural passions, our natural desires are somehow evil in and of themselves because they think that people are naturally good. They don't understand the fall of man and broken humanity. So they don't understand that really, first of all, your passions are gifts from God. Your desires are gifts from God. They define who you are. They define the shape of you. They're like salients. Salients are the things that stick out. They're like the things that stick out of you, your desires, your passions. The trick of life, the whole trick of life is training your passions to the good, right? Attaching your passions to the good. You're not supposed to get rid of them. You're not supposed to hate your desires. You're not supposed to hate your erotic desires, your ambitions, even your desire for money. You're not supposed to hate those things. You're supposed to attach them to the good. You're supposed to get money by doing something that other people will like. Use the money for the good. You're supposed to use, what would your life be like if, say, you're in love with your wife, you're erotically attracted to your wife, but you also know that she is good, right? You've discussed this with yourself. Should I marry this girl? Is she really good? Is she somebody, or am I just attracted to her? You understand that there's a difference between your passion and her quality. But once you can bring her quality, once you realize her quality is good, what would a man be like who didn't have a passion for his wife? You love your mother, right? But you want your mother to be good. If your mother is evil, then you might have to break off that love. You might have to break off that attachment. But what would a man be like if he didn't love his mother? He'd be unnatural. There'd be something wrong with him. Think of it like a glass and wine, all right? So you got the passion is the glass. The good is the wine, right? You fill the glass up with the good. If you don't fill the glass up with the wine, with the good, then all you've gotten is an empty glass. Your passions are empty. They're attached to whatever they just attach themselves to. That doesn't work. But if you have no glass, the wine goes nowhere. You have nothing that will, it's not enough to know what's good. You have to love the good. It's not enough to, to care, think, you're not a Vulcan. It's not enough to say, my wife has these wonderful qualities. You got to love your wife, love your mom. And you got to love your country, because this is what I want to get to. Patriotism. Patriotism is a natural passion. You shouldn't be afraid of your patriotism. Every person loves the place that he comes from. But of course, you want your patriotism to be informed with the good. What is good about your country? And there might come a time when you find, oh my God, my country is doing something so evil that my passion has to be redirected. I have to curtail my passion. But what would a man be like, a woman be like, if he didn't love his country? There'd be something twisted and wrong with you. The other day I was trying to quote this poem by Walter Scott, and I can never quote anything from memory. I just haven't got the capability of memorizing things. But The Lay of the Last Minstrel, let me read this to you. Listen to what Walter Scott, one of the kind of forgotten great writers, he was just a fantastic writer, and he's kind of gone out of style for temporarily. But he talks about what it would be like to have no patriotism. He says, "Breathes there the man, with soul so dead, who never to himself hath said, 'This is my own, my native land,' whose heart hath never within him burned, as home his footsteps he hath turned from wandering on a foreign strand. If such there breathe, go mark him well. For him no minstrel raptures swell." Poets are not going to sing about this guy because he doesn't love his country. "High though his titles, proud his name, boundless his wealth as wish can claim, despite those titles, power, and pelf, the wretch, concentrated all in self, living shall forfeit fair renown, and doubly dying shall go down to the vile dust from whence he sprung, unwept, unhonored, and unsung. He is not worthy of remembering. He is nothing because he doesn't have this natural passion, this natural love of country. You're not supposed to hate yourself. You're not supposed to hate the fact that you like looking at women in bikinis. You're not supposed to hate the fact that you love your mom. You're not supposed to hate the fact that you love your country. And the left is trying to school you to that. They say, you like looking at women, you're objectifying women. You're a patriot. That's jingoism. That's nationalism and tribalism. No, you're supposed to love your country. It is one of the good things about you. You have to simply train it to the good, attach it to the good. Compare what Walter Scott said about the patriot. Compare it with this.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
That's not loving your country. How would it be if before a wedding, 5 days away from the guy's wedding, he said, I am fundamentally, 5 days away from fundamentally transforming this woman? What would it, and women who do that too, 5 days, I am 5 days away from fundamentally transforming this man. That is not love. That is not patriotism. You love your country. You love your country. And of course, that means, and you know what love means because you love yourself, right? You let yourself off the hook a little bit. You overlook some of your bad qualities. You try to make yourself better. You work on yourself. These are all things we do in love, So you love your country in the same way you love yourself, same way you love your mom, all these things. And it drives me nuts that they tell us that the patriotism is bad. So, okay, the NFL. This is, and all these people, especially the intellectuals on the right, this also drives me a little crazy. They tell us these things don't matter. They say, politics is downstream from culture, but don't care about the NFL. Politics is downstream from culture, but don't care what Samantha Bee says. Why are you worried about that? That's the culture. That is the culture. That is the culture that affects the narrative, that affects who gets elected 20 years from now, right? I mean, a guy, an essential socialist like Obama would never have been elected president once, let alone twice, if we hadn't been trained to look at somebody talking like that and looking like that to some degree as a presidential candidate. He looked like the candidate we'd been told would be good. He was not a good candidate. All right. So yesterday there was this, the Eagles, having won the Super Bowl, were supposed to come to the White House to celebrate. And at the last minute, they canceled out. Trump got mad and said, well, instead, we're going to have a celebration of our flag, and we're going to talk about, why we salute the flag. And everybody said, that's not fair because the Eagles didn't kneel during the season. They didn't kneel, protest the flag. But they did pull this thing where they said, only 10 of us, and some said only one of the Eagles was going to show up, and they said it at the last minute. So it was political. It was striking back at Trump for his flag, argument that he was having with the NFL, and for the fact that the NFL was forced to cave by the people because Trump stirred up the people. So it was about the flag. It's not fair to say that the Eagles were completely innocent in this. So Trump gets up and he gives a speech, and everybody starts yelling, that this is ridiculous. This is not about patriotism. What I want to tell you here is they want to say that this is about race, but it really is about patriotism. And yes, patriotism, because it's a passion, can be abused in the same way your desire for a woman or a man can be abused. Passions can be abused. That's why you have to train them to the good. It's not about hating your passions. It is about training them to the good. But I want to go back. 2014, the Olympics. And I just want to point out that the left has been preaching against patriotism itself. They're training you to hate your natural passions, your natural loves. I want to just show you this. This is the Olympics, right? This is the one that was in Sochi or something. I think it was Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City, was it? Oh, because it was an American thing. That's right. It was American. Sorry. Thank you very much. And this is Matt Lauer, serial woman abuser, and Katie Couric, and they're interviewing athletes. Listen really carefully to how they are dictating the narrative, right? The athletes aren't saying anything about patriotism. They are telling them how they have to feel about patriotism, which is you don't want to go too far with it. You don't want to do too much. Listen.
But you're expecting even a greater wave of patriotism here in the United States in this particular time than other countries have shown when they've hosted the games.
Well, I don't know than other countries, but I certainly expect the stands to be rocking. I expect the flags to be flying. And, the expression of patriotism is fine for any country that hosts the Olympics. We want to express our nationalism as a part of the world's community, and I expect to see that.
But we have to also be careful and draw a line not to let our patriotism get in the way of the games in general.
Obviously, the opening ceremony, the games themselves will be very patriotic in feel. And yet, sometimes the international community can interpret that as arrogant nationalism. Obviously, you've got to balance those two things. Are you all, clearly, you're mindful of that. How are you going to do that?
Can you imagine? I mean, the Olympics is where countries compete, so your country is your team. Can you imagine saying to somebody, go to the Yankees game, but don't root too hard for the Yankees, give Boston a little love, I mean, that's not the way sports works. That's not the way countries work. That's not the way passion works. You're supposed to passionately love your country. It doesn't mean you don't criticize her. It doesn't mean you don't have to make her better all the time. Just as you like yourself, and as hopefully you like the people you like, you try and you do want to tell them when they're messing up, but you love them, you cut them slack, you invest your passion in them. Listen, plus they don't know what they're talking about. CNN's Angela Rye comes on, and she says, that the national anthem is problematic in and of itself. Okay, see, this is the thing I'm saying, that they keep trying to blame this on Trump. They keep saying that Trump started this, but they started it. They started it long time before Trump got there. They started it when they started telling us that our passion for our country, our love for our country was bad per se. That's when it started. Here's Angela Rye telling us that the national anthem is problematic in and of itself.
Let's be really honest here. That's what he can't handle, the ego blow. Instead of having people around him that are not yes men and yes women and yes people, he has people that continue to lie on his behalf. The Eagles didn't volunteer not to go. They uninvited the Eagles. That's the issue. This is all about his ego, and we're going to now end up in a midterm where we're talking about the national anthem. The national anthem is problematic in and of itself. There's a second verse that Colin Kaepernick brought attention to that has yet to be discussed on broad platforms. In addition to that, people have every right to go through the practices of practicing free speech. I didn't mean to say practice twice, but the bottom line is we have the opportunity to say, this is something that's bothering me. Until this country serves me the same way that it serves so many other people, I have a right to protest, and you should pay attention to what those issues are if you're a real leader.
That thing about the national anthem is total garbage, by the way. She was talking about the third verse, not the second verse. Here it is. This is, remember, it's the War of 1812, Battle of Fort Henry, and we win the battle. We're fighting the British. The song goes, "And where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more?" This is such a badly written song. It really is. But he says, where's the band that swore that they would destroy our country? Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps' pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave. So she thinks, and Colin Kaepernick think, that reference to slaves is to the slaves that were held in the South, and they're the slave, nothing can save them from the terror of flight. The hirelings there are the mercenaries, the German mercenaries that the British would use, and the slaves are the impressed. They used to impress people into the service in the Navy. So if you're out wandering drunk one night, a couple of guys would come, grab you under the shoulders, hurl you on a ship, and you were in the Navy. That was how the British got a lot of their people in the Navy. Those are the slaves that he's talking about. These people are just dumb. It's just dopey. All right. So anyway, they keep saying that and the other argument she makes is that this is about free speech. If it's about free speech, I want to know, if the left is about free speech, I want to know why that cake baker who wouldn't bake a cake for Halloween because he was a Christian, who wouldn't bake a cake with adult themes, as they call them, because of sexy themes, because he was a Christian, when he said, I will not decorate a cake for a gay wedding, why that was wrong, why it was okay for someone not to decorate a cake against gay marriage, but when he wanted to decorate a cake for gay marriage and he refused, that was not okay. They were trying to tell him what to think, what to say. So they're not about free speech. It has nothing to do with free speech. Nobody is curtailing these guys from protesting. My only argument with them is their protest should be, we love this country, but it's not living up to its standards. Here's why. In which case, okay, I'll listen. I might not agree, but I'll listen. But if what you're saying is, if that's what you're saying, salute the flag because you love the country. If what you're saying is this country stinks and we don't love you, then to hell with you. I don't care what you think. All right. Father's Day, all I'm trying to say is that they have been attacking our patriotism, our passions, just like they're attacking our passion for looking at women in bathing suits. That's not the problem with us. We are not supposed to dislike who we are or what we are or our own humanity. We're just supposed to train our passions and our desires for the good. While we're talking about patriotism and the things people do for patriotism, today is D-Day. If you think people go to war because they admire their country, or you think they go to war because they've thought it out, they sit in the library and they think, yes, my country is good. It really is. Those things inform their passion, but they go to war for passion, for love of country, for love of the things that we have here, there's a lot to love here. And they went to war in 1944, June 6, 1944, fighting a truly evil and disastrous enemy that would have taken over the world. The Nazis and their Axis, partners would have taken over the world if America had not stood up to them and joined with our allies in France and Britain and around the world to fight them back. And these guys, I remember as a kid, I had a junior high school teacher who was at D-Day. He stormed the Normandy beach, and I remember him telling us about it, and talking about the carpet of bodies that he ran over as he was charging these machine guns, and they were just raking the beach. I'm sure you've seen Saving Private Ryan, the opening scene of that. They were just raking the beach, and he said when he talked, he was full of what now I would recognize as PTSD. Is kind of his tone got impassioned. He fell over his words. We should not forget this. Let's just take a listen to CNN did a special where they interviewed some of the veterans and they remembered what happened.
The front went down and we jumped into the water. The water was up to our necks. We weren't the first troops. The infantry was first. We were the mortar following the infantry, and the bodies were all over the place.
First thing I had in my mind was death. I was thinking about that. I didn't think I was going to come back because there was a lot of guys all around me. They were floating in the water.
There was one kid, I looked down and there was Michaels, his name was. And he's trying to talk and nothing is coming out. I made him out to say, help me. But things were so chaotic there, you couldn't help anybody. You had to get out of there. A group of 4 of us, we headed up and we go through a minefield. The whole area was mined. So as we traverse this high ground, I hear pop, and in my peripheral vision, I see this fellow to my left, an explosion and him flying through the air. And I just kept going as fast as I could.
Yeah, I just kept going as fast as I could. There's this book. One day I'm going to do a whole show about this Howard Zinn, People's History of the United States. And he says, I want to tell the history of the United States from its point of view of the victims. I want to tell about the Constitution from the point of view of slaves. But what if I did that to you, of just told the worst parts of your lives? The truth is there's not a single person walking around politically free on the planet Earth who is not free because of people like this. Yesterday, I guess it was yesterday, Monday, it's now Wednesday, right? And that Monday, we had Jacob Airy on. We were talking about comic books, and he said millennials feel they have no great enterprise like this to participate in. But, this is a great enterprise fighting back evil. Once the evil is gone, the great enterprises are to produce more good. More children, raise your children. That's a big enterprise. That's a mighty enterprise. Settle planets, extend freedom through the world. That's what we're here to do. And it's all because of guys like this and their passion and their love of country. Believe me, it's not the Matt Lauers and Katie Courics of the world who go out and do this stuff. It's the people who love their country.